Listening to firearms examiner Richard Wyant. This is in the Killing on the Ranch murder trial against George Kelly. Let's get right back into court and listen to more of that testimony.
The trigger down on this particular rifle, which is fired one time. It is not a machine gun, but it is based off a machine gun design.
And how big of a magazine does that weapon hold?
They're typically 30-round magazines, but you can get different numbers of cartridges for different sizes of magazines.
Is there sighting on that weapon?
There is. There's a rear sight here, has a button that can be adjusted. And so again, this is a military type rifle, so occasionally you might want to do, say, suppressive fire at a longer range. So you can move this ladder sight for your different ranges that you might shoot.
And is there a rear sight?
That is the rear sight.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't tracking there. Sorry about that. And anything else about the weapon that's noteworthy for the jury?
Not necessarily. This is a pretty standard AK pattern rifle that I would expect to see in the laboratory.
Does that look about the same condition that you had it when you tested it when you came to Arizona?
It does. All these black straps that you see holding the action in place are ones that I put there after I examined it.
Right. You can put that back down. And you can go ahead and go back. Do you recall when you came to Arizona to test that gun?
I do recall, yes.
When was it?
Oh, it was 7/7 of 23.
So that's July 7th of last year?
Yes.
Warmer here in July than in Seattle, right?
It was uncomfortably warm when I was here.
You also looked at some ammunition, right?
I did.
You used some ammunition, correct?
I used ammunition and evidence for the test firing.
Did you compare, so you use, there's two different sets of ammunition I want to talk about. Well, I'm sorry, ammunition and there's some shell casings, right? I want to keep these two things separate.
Okay.
Am I getting it right? I'm getting it right.
Yes, the shell casings would be what's left after the bullet's gone down range, and typically the fired cartridge case is what we call it, would be around where the shooter was. So it's automatically extracted and ejected, like I previously mentioned, so it kind of lands on the ground somewhere where the shooter was, and bullet is downrange. So a cartridge case would be fired, ammunition would be unfired with the bullet still in the case.
Just 1 second, right? I'm red line. Do you recall the manufacturer of the ammunition that you reviewed, that you used?
The manufacturer.
All right, so again, the jury getting an eyeful of that weapon, the AK-47. Let me talk about the jury here in this case. Katherine Lizardo is here, Danielle Jackson. Danielle, jury of the peers, these are going to be neighbors. It's a very rural area. They all know what's going on at the border there. They've probably experienced something. How important is that going to be to their really relating to this defendant and their ultimate decision?
Yeah, it's going to go into his reasonableness. Was his actions that day under those circumstances reasonable? And I think that if you have a jury of your peers, which you're supposed to have, and they know what's going on in their backyard, you may have people who will say, hey, if this were me, I would have done the exact same thing. Yeah,
and that's a case closed in terms of the defense. Katherine, so this weapon, as we've talked about, has a certain connotation to it. People think it's like a machine gun. It's really not, and it's not even a precision weapon. That's why that 100-yard strike to me is amazing. Do you think in this area, that's not a big deal for this jury for the reasons we've talked about? They're maybe more used to these kinds of weapons and their use.
I agree. The jury here, they are of his peers and they know AK-47 guns. In Arizona, it's legal for civilians to own AK-47 as long as they are not fully automatic weapons. That's why you hear this expert saying that it's a semi-automatic gun that this defendant owns. So most of them actually have this type of gun because
and
they're ranch owners.
That's my point. It's probably less shocking to them, right? Well, that is going to do it for me today, and I'm going to thank and excuse Katherine Lizardo. Danielle, thank you for being with me here in the studio. Appreciate it. We will see you guys next time. Don't go anywhere, though. Of course, I'm Michael Bryant. Try to do the right thing. But coming up next is Mr. Imran Ansari. So stay right where you are.